Can you hear me, Royce at Tiptop Tottenham?
Yes. Can you
my
hear
guy
me?
with my guy with my favorite microphone in the world. How you doing, Royce? My boy.
Barnaby, it's humbling that you remember me, my friend. Look,
Of course.
I'm so happy about the result today. I'm not one of these greedy fans who has to be perfect for them to be 3 points is 3 points. I'm
True.
really excited. How are you guys feeling?
Yeah, I feel a little bruised, if I'm honest. It was a kind of a bit of a bruising performance, but you're absolutely right. We shouldn't be greedy. No game in the Premier League is easy. And, onwards, Tuesday night, doesn't look like we've had any more injuries, which I think is another important thing to think about. And I do think we're probably at least 10% better with Van der Ven. And I think the stats from the season prove that.
Yeah.
So hopefully he'll start on Tuesday night. But who impressed you playing for Spurs today, and what were your overall thoughts?
Yes, I will get to, I think, who impressed me the most, but you talking about how Van de Ven makes us better, I think, is something that I want to just quickly mention. I do agree with that totally, and I think that in this game, I watch all the matches at the Nashville and Tennessee and America, the Supporters Club. So I generally get a sense of how a lot of the fans here are feeling about something when something happens. And so at first, everybody was pretty frustrated about how Dragusin was playing. But I think as the game grew on, people were highlighting some of the stuff that he was doing. So I don't want anybody to think that, in my opinion, he's terrible and that we shouldn't give him time. I think he played decently for us today. But obviously the star man today, I don't know if you can see the back of my shirt.
Sonny, brilliant.
I was deciding between my kits today, and I was like, man, I really feel like because of how good of form Son has been on the international break, that he's going to score today. It was going to happen, and I'm so excited that it did happen.
Yeah, Marlon has actually changed his mind since he gave his initial match reaction man of the match and has gone and flicked to Son. And I now wonder whether that's because he knew you were coming on and wants you to love him.
Man, you guys are both really seriously amazing commentators. I'm not really used to being live in front of people for the first, so I'm kind of getting used to doing that type of delivery. But I have my own YouTube channel, Tiptop Tottenham. I'm nearing in on 100 subscribers.
Yes,
I'm at like 88. I'm posting short form content every day, and I have a weekly show where I talk about the trending topics in the Tottenham community. So
well, guys, at home, make sure you go to Tiptop Tottenham. What's the handle? Is it at Tiptop Tottenham? Is it as simple as that, or is it something else?
Yes, I believe if you just YouTube Tiptop Tottenham, it'll come up. If you just YouTube that.
Give him a subscribe, because sometimes getting to the first 100 is the hardest work. And we all know that once you see someone with 100 subscribers, you're more likely to sign on to them in the same way that if you see someone with 10,000 subscribers, you're more likely to subscribe to them. So give Tiptop Tottenham a subscribe, drop some of his videos a like. He's got an amazing cat in the background, which also changes color the same way his microphone does.
She was sleeping when I.
She wants out, mate. Royce, she wants out of the room. Do you want to go and let her out?
Yes, yeah.
This cat better be named after a Spurs player. I'll tell you that.
I have another cat as well. So I love Pixar movies, and I named one of them after Luca. So that was Luca that you just saw. She's a girl, and then I have another one named Sully from Monsters Inc.
Brilliant. Yeah, the big monster from Monsters Inc. Okay,
yeah,
so
thank you so much for the love, Barnaby. I really appreciate that. Seriously.
Don't be silly. We were talking about how Brennan Johnson changed the game today. What did you make of his performance?
Yes. So a lot of people, like I mentioned before in the Supporters Club, were kind of calling for Brennan Johnson to come on. I didn't expect Ange to bring him on at halftime. I thought that was pretty gutsy of him to do, but obviously it ended up being the right decision. I just think he looks so good when he comes off the bench, because his pace just completely rips apart teams with tired legs. And so while I do think, the idea of him starting from here is good, I don't know if in practicality like that would work, just because I feel like, in my opinion, he hasn't played as well when he started. So I feel like this is what I was wanting to say. Overall, I feel like I'm not upset if we sign Timo permanently. I'm not upset, if we keep Brennan consistently playing, but I still feel like we need a winger in the summer that is like much better than both of them to really push forward, I believe, to where we want to be.
So Come on,
yeah,
mate.
Royce, you just said something which I felt like, and because I'm seeing a lot in the chat, but you said that Ange was quite brave in making that sub at half time. Do you feel like Ange is starting to work out the Premier League and work out certain things that actually he's learning, and he is the man to take us forward?
Yes, I really like what you said there. I think it's so important to realize now how great the beginning of the season was, and I think some of it in part was to the fact that not every team had really been familiar with Ange's system. Like the casual fan hadn't really ever heard of Ange Postecoglou before he had signed with Tottenham, and so I believe that now everybody has played us obviously and has a sense of what it's going to look like against their system. So they're just more prepared in general. But I'm not saying that Ange is Pep Guardiola by any means. But when you look at his managerial style, how he has, this philosophy, but he's able to make adjustments and stuff and does stuff that you don't necessarily anticipate for him to do. I think that Ange, I'm not saying, like I said, he's going to get to that level, but you have to give him time to be able to make adjustments to his philosophy, according to who we play against. And I'm really, really happy that we got 3 points today, because I know Spurs Twitter would have been, so toxic if we did.
It was ready to go. It was ready.
Yeah, it was really ready to go. Royce, looking forward to this West Ham game. Tuesday night comes thick and fast. How are you feeling about that? They obviously lost, having been up 3-1 at Newcastle today. Do you think they'll bounce back? They'll be looking to bounce back hard from that, or will that be a dent to them that maybe we can take advantage of?
Yes, when I saw that result, I was like, man, that's kind of unfortunate for us, just because I always feel like teams play better after they lose, just in general. And especially when you have a team as dangerous as West Ham, you're always kind of nervous because they really get up for us. I have a colleague at work who sits right next to me who's a big West Ham fan, so we're going to be chirping a lot before the game. So I really, for that reason, hope that we can get it
Why
done.
is there a West Ham fan all the way over there? That's ridiculous.
Yeah, Nashville really has a lot of people from England that end up moving here for whatever reason. But yes, no, he's the only West Ham fan that I know, matter of fact. But it's a really big game. I think that we should have the tools to get it done, but it's not going to be an easy game like any game in the Premier League.
It's going to be horrible.
Royce, quick question. Kulu, what do you do with him on Tuesday? Do you start him?
He played so bad today, I think. He played so bad today. I want him to play so good is the worst part about it. But I had just, had a conversation with the people I was sitting around. I was like, man, Kulusevski has been a little bit anonymous to me today. And I think Madison also in the first half was pretty anonymous as well. But I think that he grew on a lot in the second half and was one of the big reasons why we ended up getting 3 points today.
Yeah, the Kulusevski question is a difficult one for me. I really rate him, but today it just didn't quite work out. I talked about it a lot in the first half. Sarr was making him a lot of runs ahead of him, and Kulusevski was just cutting in over and over again. And actually, if you remember, that first goal came from Kulusevski playing a bad pass where he should have either shot or just laid it off really easily. He laid it off behind everybody running in. And as a result, we had like 5-6 men caught ahead of the ball. And I've mentioned it a couple of times, but I saw when Ange went down the tunnel at half time, he pointed to the back of the bench, which I assume was Brennan Johnson, was like, he looked angrily like, you're going on. I think he was not best pleased with Kulu's performance. Kulu did play 90 minutes in both those international games during the week. That could, of course, have affected him fatigue-wise. I doubt many of those Luton players played as many minutes as he did. But I think overall Kulusevski is an important player for Spurs and will prove himself to be a very brilliant player for Spurs in the long term. But whether or not he starts on Tuesday night, I'm not sure.
Yeah, just real quick, Barnaby, I wanted to mention as well, you had talked about Sarr quickly. He is fantastic. What a player Pape Sarr is, in my opinion. There was a couple of instances where he was vital into the chances and moves that we were creating. I believe there was 2 instances on like separate times where he picked the ball off the player really, really close to their box, and it led to 2 big chances for us. So I think that he's so good. I talked about Spurs Twitter before that Kobe Mano, and I know you guys are both from England, I would assume, so you may disagree with what I'm about to say. But in my opinion, Sarr is a better player than Kobe Mano, in my opinion. I don't really see how a ton of people could think that Sarr isn't even in the conversation in a lot of the discourse of the young players here coming up in Europe. I think he's such an unbelievable talent.
Yeah, I think it's interesting about Kobe Mainoo. He's really kind of in the last couple of months come out of nowhere a little bit. It feels to me like he only really had his first start in 3, 4, 5 months ago or something.
He got injured in pre-season he was meant to start and he got injured in pre-season and then only got come back in around October, November time.
He definitely played well for England in the week, and I think the reason why people are really grabbing onto him is because they desperately don't want Jordan Henderson to be starting for England, and they've suddenly seen someone who's kind of athletic and can play in that 6 and turn on the ball. So he's definitely, a good option for England. Sarr feels to me like a slightly different player in that Sarr is just pure engine and legs, and what he does really well. And I think one of the moments you were talking about today was when Pedro Porro played this beautiful skimming ball across the floor and Sarr had made a lovely run for him. And Sarr finds himself in that kind of inside right position more than any central midfielder I've ever seen, in terms of just making that run to the forward line and finding himself there. And quite often it'll come to him and he'll lay it off to the wide man, and then we'll score one of those goals or get one of those chances across the front. I totally agree in that. I think in the long term, Sarr will become a massive Premier League player. I still think he's got some filling out to do as well. I think when he kind of, his muscles really fill out, because he's already a tall, strong boy. I think I've said it a few times, he really reminds me of Patrick Vieira, just the way that he with his long strides gets up and down the pitch. Yeah, I agree with you, Royce. I think he's a brilliant talent.
And in my opinion, just stamina in general is such an underrated trait in football. Like being able to, when you go out and play like with people, it's I mean, of course in the beginning, there's going to be people who are better than others, but as time goes on, as people get more and more tired, the people who are amazing in the beginning aren't as good as they obviously used to be. And so if you're just there and just being able to have the legs to keep making those runs for however long you're playing, you could just come into a situation. I've been in myself. I'm not the most skilled player by any means, but a lot of the goals that I've scored when I've just been playing with my friends, I've just been able to make the run at the end of the game because everybody else is more tired, and you just finish it. So it's such an underrated trait that he has.
I'm the direct opposite, which is I've got no stamina, but I'm the most skilled player.
I'm gonna go. I'm in between.
I'm not skillful at all, but I'm like the master of the 5-yard pass. For me, playing football, the better you are at like just making a decision to play a 5-yard pass and then making a good movement off it, that makes the best footballers for me. The worst footballers are the ones where you're playing amateur football and they think they're better than they are, so they try these tricks and skills, and that's the worst for me. But anyway, I'm sure, Royce, you are a brilliant footballer with an excellent engine. Thank you so much for calling in. Really appreciate it, mate. Where are you going to be watching the West Ham game on Tuesday night?
Probably at the Supporters Club as well. What time did you say was kicking off over there?
So it'll be 7:45 or 8 o'clock GMT. So where are you? It'll be like 5 hours before, won't it? 5 or 6 hours before?
Yeah, Central Time in the United States. So probably like 2 p.m. middle of the afternoon. I'll have to try and get off of work. I hope that nobody watches We Are Tottenham TV from where I work. But ideally, I'd be getting at the Supporters Club.
We're the later game on Tuesday. We're 8:15.
Okay.
8:15.
Okay, 8:15. All right. And just
give
us
so much. I appreciate it.
Just before you go though, Royce, tell us what your prediction is for that game.
I think the result of this morning with Newcastle and West Ham probably changes my prediction. I think we're going to concede, so I'll say 2-1.
2-1 Spurs.
2-1
Tiptop Tottenham, guys, make sure you give that a subscribe. Go and follow Royce. He's actually got really good knowledge and thoughts on Tottenham Hotspur. So make sure you give it a subscribe and keep on growing, Royce. Great stuff. Top man. I'll give you a subscribe when I get home later.
Thank you guys so much. I hope you guys both have a great day.
No problem. Thank you. Thanks a lot.